What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of ArmTalk, and I'm your host, Jody Williams. And tonight, we're going to put a bow tie on the challenge, the tournament that's going to take place on August 20th in Athol, Idaho. My guest is Doug Goodman. Doug, I've been friends with you for a long, long time now. And first of all, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Jody.
And I've had all the guys on. The first episode was me and David Till. 2 weeks later, it was Aaron and Brennan Till. 2 weeks ago, it was Nick Maurer and Jason Foster. And now here we are, the guy that pretty much set the whole thing up for the most part, the guy that's going to be, let everybody know about the rules and the format and such. Bow tie on the whole thing, but tell us how we all got to this.
And you've known me for years. I've been arm wrestling for years. I kind of got back into it about 5 years ago, I guess. Got back in seriously and started coaching again. And coaching has been my passion. And about 2 years ago, David started coming to the matches. And, if anybody listened to the interview, Dave's a very enthusiastic guy, as is his brother Brennan. Whatever they do, they jump in with both feet. So they've been pulling for a little bit, and Dave went to a big tournament down south. And then we went to the Washington State and saw the Supermatch there with Jacob Abbott and from Utah. Jordan Sill, the guy from Australia, and all of the guys on the team were really impressed. And we had a great turnout. I think we took 8 guys to that tournament. They were so impressed with the Supermatch and the concept of it and that one-on-one competition. And the guys, they watch all the videos, the Arm Wars, and the WAL, and anything they can get. So after the tournament, I guess Dave had been talking with some of the guys in Washington, and shout out to the guys on the Strong Arms team and the guys in Oregon who have been talking to the guys on my team and really encouraging them and giving them tips and stuff like that. Yeah. Well, during the conversation, Dave was talking to one of the guys, and they had come over to Team Strong Arms for a practice with, Jacob Abbott's team. And somehow David Till had gotten it set up to have a super match with one of the guys in Washington. Wow. And then it ended up getting switched and went to you. And then everything just started falling in place. And I think it was right time situation. It was, what do they call it? Serendipity.
Yeah.
And so the guys got everything set up, and everything just fell into place. The last match being Kevin Edwards on our side with Nano. And I was, four square for it. I a lot of the guys on my team are newer to the sport, and they really need the experience. And there's really, for me, there is no better way than pulling guys who are really experienced.
Right.
And that's something that I did bodybuilding when I was a young lad about 100 years ago. And one of the things I didn't like about it was a lot of the guys were extremely arrogant, and there was a real hostile attitude from one competitor to the next.
Right.
When I was doing some strongman competitions, I noticed that the guys were much more open, much more friendly, and a lot more willing to give tips. And then arm wrestling, just the same. I remember going to tournaments, even when I went to your house and attended practice at your place, everybody had excellent tips for me, and it really helped my progress in the sport. And so, having that opportunity to pull against the guys who are more experienced is just it's a real godsend for our guys and the development of our team.
Right. And, and I've been saying, I don't know if you've been keeping up with the series, but I've been doing it every 2 weeks. But I had sat there, and after David and I got to talking and stuff after my event. The LOD event was all, in the rearview mirror. We sat there and we talked it over. And originally I had a little pushback from some people saying, well, who is this David Till guy? It's like, he's pretty new in the sport, And then it became, well, Jody, you've been doing this for 12 years now. Why are you pulling somebody who has hardly any experience in the Supermatch? And so this is when I sat there and made a post, a video actually on social media. I sat there on Facebook, it was Facebook or YouTube. I can't remember which one it was. And it was about challenging yourself. And I said,
I saw that. And that was an excellent article. I really appreciated what you had to say.
Right. And I do really mean that, because let's just say, and we'll use, well, hell, I'll use just, for this whole time, we'll use Robbie Topi, right? So let's just say, here's David Till asking me for a match. And I could have easily said, hey, love you to death, man. Like what you're doing, but right now you're not ready for me yet. I'm going to gracefully decline, because I could have said, hey, David, no offense, but I'm gunning for guys above me. Now, take that same scenario and insert it into my tournament that happened in June, where I'm pulling Robbie Topi. He could have told me the same exact thing to me that I would have told David, but I chose not to, because if we all decided, no, I'm going to pull somebody better than me, we'd be chasing our tails forever. So all it takes is for that higher upper, tier guy to say yes, and now we have a match, unless both parties, are like, even Steven. But all it takes is that higher ranked guy, or that guy that's, a lot better than you, to say yes, let's make this thing happen. Because who knows? I mean, me giving the opportunity to them, I'm okay. I like to compete no matter what. Win, lose, or draw, I like to compete. I know there are some people, and Doug, you've been in the sport long enough to know now, we ain't got to bring in names, but we know that there's some guys who just don't want to lose, and they feel like in their brain they can't lose, or they don't want, hey, if they go to a tournament or a super match and for some odd reason their match ends up on social media and they lose, then they kind of go into hiding. And it's like, if you're in this sport to win all the time, you're going to be very, very disappointed, because this is not a sport, like that.
Yeah. The fragile ego syndrome. Yeah. And I will say that's one of the things when I meet somebody, and you've met a bunch of them, and the first thing they say is, "Oh, you arm wrestle." I've never been beaten.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh, I've been beaten about 1,000 times." And nothing pushes us to train more than losing. Yeah. And I think back to, in pulling John, in the match where John was getting ready to pull Alexei Bovoda.
Right.
And they interviewed him, and they're like, what are your predictions? And John's like, if I go into the tournament and I blow everybody away, it's going to be real disappointing.
Right.
And some people have asked, why is John the greatest? Because John's a competitor. He doesn't have to win at all costs. He's there for the competition.
Right.
And to me, that's extremely important, especially in arm wrestling. It's a sport that is both extremely public, but at the same time, extremely personal. Because you're in front of all these people, but you're literally holding on to this other person, and you're forcing them down to the pad against their will. And it's and you're so close. The proximity is, you're less than a foot away from them at times, and that's something that really so few other sports have.
Right. And, before we go any further, we got Paul Stevens and Tiffany Sane and Troy Brown in the house. Thanks for joining us on the show. We got Doug Goodman. He's going to be one of the referees, I would imagine. Are you going to be one of the referees there, right?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So the main thing, we're just touching base on how this whole thing started, and what everybody wants to know and see, like the super matches. We got David Till against me. We got Brendan Till versus Aaron Yersey. We got Jason Foster, Nick Maurer. We got Nano Cruz. And who's the other guy he's pulling?
Kevin Edwards.
Kevin Edwards.
Most people from this area would know Kevin because he won his class at the Washington State in the amateur class. I think it was 240, the 240 class.
Yeah.
He since trimmed down, and then he pulled afterward with Sharkovich, and I think he might have pulled Aaron and some other guys.
Yeah.
And he's a handful.
Yeah. And so, like, and the thing about it, though, there's a lot of strong people around the Pacific Northwest that don't get their recognition because it's just, you just don't think about arm wrestling. And, a lot of more often times than not, it's just the way it is, where we have to travel to get recognition or whatnot. I was chit chat with Haley Sue, and she's going to Idaho State Championships in September in Blackfoot. So I'm thinking, it's like, I think it's like the 9th or something like that. I can't remember, something like that. But rest assured, it's going to be there. And I'm like going, okay, here's the deal. We need to make this tournament in Athol as big as possible, because what I'm thinking, might happen is the fact that we make this an annual thing to where, okay, now we got the Washington guys going, you got the Oregon guys going, and you got the, Idaho guys holding forward. Maybe you can get guys from Canada and some from Montana coming up here, sprinkle a little bit of Utah pullers, and then now we got something big every year, That's what I foresee as far as this event goes.
And that's actually my hope. We, as a team, don't really have the capacity to hold a lot of competitions, but I would like to hold one or two good quality competitions. And I'm really hoping, we used to have a lot of the guys from BC would come down and practice with the team.
Right.
Brad Schmidt, Jimmy Ball, and of course you remember Todd and Travis Miller.
Oh, yeah.
They've been for years. They would come down and practice. And so we have a good group of guys in the area for people to come over and pull against,
Right.
That's the thing. I want to put on a good quality tournament, and the super matches really, I think, add to that. They help some of our local guys really see, and I don't know if I would use the term celebrity, but honestly, people who, when you look on YouTube, these are people you're going to see.
Yeah.
And people that are well known. And so we're, you guys are volunteering to come over and, let the locals kind of see somebody who's, like I said, somewhat a celebrity in the sport, which I think will really grow the popularity of arm wrestling in our area.
Thank you. I mean, like I said, I'm excited for it. When this whole thing started, I was like, man, we still got so many weeks to go. And it's funny because I told myself, because the guys and we got like a group page going on. So all the guys in the Supermatch, we got this group page that Nick Maurer created. And so I sat there and I told everybody on the show a couple weeks ago that, hey, I'm not going to be going to compete at the Myrtle Creek event, the Joe Wheaton Invitational. But, I did change my mind last minute because there's a guy by the name of Jody Smith out of Northern California, and he rolled up here. I'm like going, oh, there's no way. I got some payback for him, because he's beating me.
Yeah, no, I was watching the video when you called.
Yeah, so I was like, no, there's no way he's going to drive all the way from Northern California and think he's going to walk in and take our medals. I'm like, no. That's not going to happen. So, of course, I changed my mind. And for me, I needed that match because, the last couple of times we pulled, he's beat me. I took second to him at the Legion Sports Tournament in Reno a couple years ago. And then later on at Washington State, he beat me right-handed. So I'm thinking, I've never beaten that guy. And we kind of pulled the same and, got the same kind of strength. I'm like, there's no way I got to get this. So, going back, and I actually posted a picture, and all of a sudden, here's David, hey, man, I thought you weren't pulling. And I was like, yeah, I had to, though. If he wouldn't have showed up, I would have been like, okay, fine, whatever. Or I was pull the right hand, whatever. But I was going to save my left just for David. But when Jody Smith walks on stage, I'm like, okay, he walked under the register. I'm like, now there's no way I'm not going to pull that guy, So.
Yeah, no. And the rivalries are great to watch.
Yes. So tell us about the rule set now, because this is very important because a lot of guys, at first we heard it might have been a WL setup. Now, sometimes some people's WL setup might be different from others. So we just need some clarification. I know some of the guys are watching, they want some, want to know exactly, hey, what exactly are we going thumbs down, close your hands? Are we going, we're getting on grip, or what is the exact thing? Because we all want to know for ourselves what to get ready for.
Right, and that is a good question. So for me, the super matches are kind of the wild cards of a competition. It's really the age-old question of, well, can this guy beat this guy? We know both guys, or we've seen them pull before. We know the strengths and weaknesses, and everybody knows arm wrestling is a chess match.
Yeah.
And so whose moves are going to counter whose. So with the guys that are in the super match, I really feel like they should be able to determine what federation rules they would like. And I mean, AAA is pretty close to WAF. WAL is, kind of, they're a little bit looser than the other two by a ways.
Right.
And so I would like to leave it open to the competitors. Now, that being said, it provides an opportunity for me to educate the audience, because there's really some basic differences in the WAL and WAF. And I can, if we have a good commentator, the commentator, if the guys choose a different federation rules, the commentator can kind of educate the audience, and they can see how that difference plays out.
Yeah.
And also inexperienced arm wrestlers. But I would caution the pullers to remember that the federation rules that they pull under may affect their ranking. And you and I have talked before about Devin Lorette and Michael Todd pulling.
Right.
How it was just serious King's move stuff. And at the end of the match, did it really settle anything? When they pulled twice, and it was kind of that thing that, you had the first pull and everybody's kind of like, well, I don't know if that really settled anything. And then they pulled again, and everybody, well, I don't know if that pulled anything, or if it settled anything, because the rules were so loose.
Yeah.
And that is one of the things that, I feel, since it's the two guys getting up there, they're putting themselves on the line. I think they should have the right to choose if they agree on the federation rules they want to use. But like I said, I would caution them to remember that if they get up there and we use WAL, and they, are hanging below the table and they're swinging around like they're on a jungle gym, well, really is that going to affect their rankings, nationally or across the state, or even within their own club, and so that's kind of my feelings on the rules. I tend to prefer AAA and WAF rules, because they are a little bit more strict. And for me, I do tend to be a little bit of a purist, but my goal at the end of the tournament is for everybody that comes to one of my tournaments to feel that they got a fair pull.
Right.
I hate it when people leave a tournament and they're like, well, I wasn't used to that tournament style, or that start, or, man, I just feel like I never got a fair pull. I feel like, the refs were too fast, or the way they set up our hands, or the rules themselves. And we had guys that pulled WAL, and that thing of holding their hands and then closing them on their own, and then the ref saying go, it really threw a lot of guys off.
Yeah.
And I would prefer that the guys win or lose based on their ability to pull, not based on how comfortable or uncomfortable they are with the ref starts, So, like I said, for me personally, I tend to be a little bit more of a purist, and I do prefer, a little bit more of the strict rules, because, again, I want everybody at the tournament to feel like they got their chance to answer those questions of, well, can I pull that guy?
Right.
And it's different pulling people in practice as opposed to a tournament. And so that question that each person has, well, how do I match up? Can I pull that guy at a tournament? Well, I want them to answer that in a real way, that does justice to their own sense of sportsmanship. So like I said, I think, that the guys really, for the super matches at least, I'll let them choose, and if they have questions, like Kevin, he hasn't pulled other than at Washington State. And so I can explain to them, real quickly the differences, and having the ref hold the hands as not hold the hands, and then the running fouls, and one federation it's a warning, one federation it's a foul, and things like that. So I can explain that to them quickly, so they at least can make an educated choice. But for all of our guys that are listening to this broadcast, I would say get in touch with the guy that you're pulling against and talk to him.
I think our group chat's gonna go blow up tonight. Because I know, like I said, we got a group chat going on, and so it's pretty funny because everyone's sending video in about their lifts and how much weight they can move and stuff, which is good, and I'm glad they're doing that. And I'll be the first to admit, I always tell the guys there, hey man, when it comes to powerlifting, all that kind of stuff, you guys beat me hands down. But I'm not going to be the guy putting a video about how much I can lift, because if I do, and I have some time, but if I do, it ain't going to be anywhere like those guys are. But I'm only strong where I need to be strong at. That's the difference between me and some other people. But I agree with the rule set, because I've pulled both sets before. The WAF and IFA kind of stuff, AAA makes you want to it makes you pull in control, right? Whereas wall, I guess from a fan standpoint, it keeps the action going, but at the same time, you can get sloppy at the table. So, and then even then, thumbs down, close your hand. When you close your hand, somebody's getting the extra little torque as they close their hand. It's like, come on, dude. I've been on the receiving end of that before. So it happens, where get your grip. Okay, I get my grip. You make sure our shoulders are straight and our wrists are straight. When you say go, after that, you do what the heck you want, and kind of go at it from there. So, I do like that, so that's going to be interesting. Do you know the match format as far as who's going first, who's going last, or whatever?
I don't. And I actually, I'd like to bounce some things off of you. I know when we did our super matches last year, we had the guys, do a series of 3 matches and then take a break and do 3 more. Oh, that's something else I wanted to talk about.
Oh, we doing 6 rounds?
Well, and so for me, I actually prefer the 6 rounds. And the reason is arm wrestling is not just about speed and power and angles, but there's a large component of endurance in it, I remember when I competed in strongman, we had a guy that entered one of the contests who squatted 1,000 pounds competitively. I mean, this guy was huge. And so everybody was, naturally kind of intimidated. He did the first event and he was done for the competition. He couldn't do anymore. His cardio was so bad that, that first, Farmer's Walk, Super Yoke. So Super Yoke was he had no problem with it, right? But his cardio was terrible.
Yeah,
but in arm wrestling, you have your guys like, I don't know, for lack of a better example, say Tony Katowski.
Yeah.
Okay, Tony is an unbelievably powerful puller. Craig Soublier, now Craig is in some seriously good shape too, but you got those pullers who are unbelievably powerful, but then you've got your competitors like Crazy George, who's got unbelievable endurance.
That man got stamina for days.
That's it. And so the thing I like about the 6 rounds is at the end of the 6 rounds, one, we typically have a clear winner or an idea of the real strengths and weaknesses of each competitor. The other thing we have is a guy can win with 4 matches and the other guy can still pick up 2. And it's kind of I won't say a consolation prize, but at least he didn't get shut out. You know what I mean?
Right.
As opposed to if we do the best of 5, well, the best of 5 is 3. So if a guy gets 3 quick matches, it's done. And the other guy's shut out. I mean, he didn't even have a chance.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to leave it to the competitors. They can choose for themselves, but I actually really appreciate that Arm Wars 6-match format. Because again, how many times have you seen it where one guy, the first two matches, looks unstoppable, and in the third match, you can see the turn of the tide. Especially if they have a grinder.
I tell you what,
one grinder match.
David Till, he's in the chat right now. David, let me ask you, my friend, what do you think? You heard Doug say, hey, he likes the 6 rounds. And if we're going 6 rounds, let's go ahead and make this happen. Because I'm telling you right now, I'm training because I've been in talks with Neil Pickup. And so we all know Arm Wars is that kind of format, 6 rounds. So no matter, you could be down 4-0, you can win the next 2. I think in a 6-round format, 4-2 is, commendable in my book, David Till, you're there. What do you think, buddy? Because, aside from our group chat, we're here live. What do you think? 6 rounds? I'm down for it. I'm like, yeah, let's do that. Let's test each other's conditioning and stuff. Let's give the crowd a show. I think it kicks off at high noon. We'll go ahead and get it done. Wow. I mean, I had no idea it was going to be that, but the way you explained that, Doug, I see why. So, yeah, I like that.
So, and then going back to the arrangement of the matches, we could draw straws. We could do, a partial 3 matches and then have each, Supermatch run through 3 matches and then finish up, or have them do the full 6 matches, one right after the other. I would say we should run the 6 matches because if we do 3 and then let the guys rest, that takes away that endurance component.
Right.
And I think the audience, they're going to want closure. They're going to want closure on that super match. They don't want to wait. We've all seen the matches where the guys foul 2 or 3 times and each guy's got 2 fouls and everybody's just, tearing their hair out. Let's just finish this up, because it's one of those things. It's like a bad wreck. You hate to watch, but you can't look away.
Yeah.
I think, doing the 6 in a row, and then what we can do is just do a draw. Now, Nano did say that he would like to pull first because he does have his filming to do.
Yeah.
And I would say it was a last minute thing for him agreeing to pull Kevin. And I really appreciate him willing to step out and do that. So I will say Nano, his match with Kevin is probably going to be first for that reason, so that he's going to be there to film the other super matches in the tournament.
That's fine.
So after him, I would say, we could junk and Poe for it, or we can, draw straws and just do it randomly. We could also do it. You guys are all big guys. We don't have any of our super matches that are even in my weight class. So, I in some super matches, I know they'll go with either the lighter weights up to the heavyweights. In this instance, you guys are all beefy guys. So, like I said, I think just draw randomly. And unless there's something like, in Nano's case, where there's a legitimate reason that he would need to go early in the tournament, I say, just do it randomly and add a little to the excitement.
That's fine by me. I don't care when I go. I just know I'm going 6 rounds with Mr. David Till now. That's all I know. But I will say this, though. Extra bonus, I will be helping ref too. So I'll be bringing my referee shirt, help out with the reffing if you need to. As far as the format of the tournament, what kind of because I'll be helping you ref too. So first things first, are we going to have, how many tables are we going to have?
We're going to have 2 tables available.
Okay.
And I would like to have 2 refs from our area and then 2 refs from the west side.
Okay.
And the reason is I want to have equal representation. I'm kind of not sure if I'm going to compete now because, with a lot of the stuff, during the competition day, there's so much going on. And for me, I want to be able to concentrate on, the arm wrestling. And, like I said before, coaching is more my passion.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always, hopefully we're going to have some after pulls. So I'll get a chance to hook up with some of the guys. but I will probably focus on the reffing side of it. And again, I want that, I want everybody that comes to the tournament. Part of being a well-run tournament is that everything is fair,
Yeah.
And we don't have a thing of, well, yeah, we know whenever and honestly, I have been to tournaments years ago where if you went to a particular tournament in a particular area, you knew you were going to be fighting uphill. Because they knew all their competitors and you were unknown and things like that. And that always sucks. Nobody likes that.
Right.
And with you guys being gracious enough to come over, I mean, any number of guys on your team is experienced enough to ref and do a good job. So like I said, we'll probably run, and I've got, 4 ref shirts of my own, even if guys don't have them, but 2 guys from the West Side ref, and then 2 guys from our side ref, and then run through the amateurs first, and then kind of following the WAF where the table is for a particular weight class. So the weight classes are not jumping between tables and stuff.
Oh,
and I
perfect.
Because the tables will be basically the same thing.
Good.
However, there's always a different feel, going from one table to the next. So, that thing of, one table for one weight class, and then run through them similar to most of the tournaments run pretty much the same. You run lightweights up until everybody's run through one class, then you go to the next class, on up, and then you keep going through until you eliminate down to your last 4, and then go from your semifinals and things like that.
First question of the night. Okay, good question, Tiffany. She says, who will be reffing the super matches?
So I'll be one of the refs for the super match, and then there'll be one ref from the West Side for the super matches.
Because as far as the tournament goes, I'm a certified ref. Nick Maurer can ref. He refed at the last tournament last weekend with myself. And just to make sure everything is even, Steven, you and Nick Maurer, since 2 different refs from either side can be on one table. Me and another guy from Idaho can be on another table. That way it kind of balances everything out. That way there's no favoritism, ain't none of that kind of stuff going on there. My only rule is that I'm a real stickler for people getting injured. So if I see a break arm, I'm going to stop it. I'm going to say, hey, stand up, or hey, I'm going to stop the match, because the one thing I don't want is somebody to get hurt on my watch. I really got an issue with that, So
yeah, no, and we will have some amateur pullers, and that is one of the things that I do like about the AAA as opposed to WAF is AAA, you can stop that match. You don't have to warn, you can just stop the match, which for me, especially with amateurs or something like that, yeah, I really agree with you. I don't want anybody getting hurt, and we can always restart the match.
Right. So Bobby wants to know, hey, are there going to be early weigh-ins the night before, or just the day of?
If we have guys coming from distance, I would have no problem. The venue that we're having it in, one of the primary sponsors there and do the weigh-ins and start the early registration. I have no problem with that.
Yeah, because the wife and I are driving about 7 hours or whatever from Bend, Oregon. So we leaving crack of dawn on Friday. But so now we got the rules for the Supermatch set up. Now, is that going to morph into the tournament? What kind of rules are we doing for the tournament? Are we still doing like the AAA? Are we doing how are we doing that? That way it could be the same thing on both tables.
And I will say the WAF, I like their rules. They're not quite as strict as AAA. And I would say the only exception would be the break arm position.
Right.
So, and I'll ask your opinion, since you're going to be reffing. What do you think of that? Just using WAF rules, and then if we get a break arm position, do the AAA, hey, I'm going to just stop you.
The WAF rules is like perfect, because everybody that I know of actually kind of started arm wrestling under those rules anyway, except for this new group of, the latest and greatest kind of saw Wall and was like, ooh, let's do that. It's like going, okay, that's fine. But, Do those guys remember that one of those WAF tournaments when it was still brand new, we had 6 arm breaks at that one tournament in Vegas? Do they understand that? So I want people to understand with the WAF rules, you're going to have referees that really are kind of a stickler for that, and we'll explain all that, like the elbow fouls. Some are lenient, bunny hop. Oh, why didn't gain position? I'm like, yeah, but elbow foul's an elbow foul, and some people kind of argue that. Some people argue that, well, if somebody didn't gain position, why are you calling an elbow foul? Let them pull. Okay, then why do we have rules then? You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like,
and it goes back to, when I look at the competitors, do they feel they got a fair pull? And when that guy's elbow comes off the table and the other competitor knows it and he feels that it affected the match, well, what can I say to him?
Right. Because, honestly, I look at it like this. It's almost like basketball. Did you foul him or not? Well, it's a little foul. Okay, it's still a foul, right? So same thing, elbow foul's an elbow foul, right? Heck, that just means now you got to be careful. You got to, behave yourself on the table, because now plant that elbow down and then go from there. Because, even, my style, I've been known to kind of do that from time to time, and if I do it, just tell me, hey, did I come off the front, back, side, or tell me which way. That way I kind of know going into the restart what I need to do, and that's fair for everybody. It's like, get a grip, are you fair at that? See thumb knuckle, that kind of thing, because there are going to be some of those people who kind of get the, advantage. And hell, I just went through a tournament where the guy I pulled, and I don't know if anybody that's watching the show watched me. If you watch the video, Jody Smith kind of came just like this. I kid you not. I'm thinking, well, first of all, square your shoulders. Second of all, I'm already starting open like that with my hand underneath. There's no way I'm going to start a match like that. So, yes, make sure everybody's square, shoulders are square, making sure wrists are straight. Once I say go, you can do what you want after that within the rules, and hopefully you don't, injure yourself. That's pretty much what I want, and just have at it. I don't want to be one of those guys that's like, hey, nitpicking every little thing you do. But if someone does that, that means you're doing something wrong, obviously, right? So, but
yeah. And I was watching Janice Mullins and the coach.
Yeah.
And they were talking about the reffing and how there's that fine line between making it a fair match and interfering with the pullers. And that's one of the things is I really try to, ride that line where everybody's getting a fair match, but I'm not interfering to a degree where the guys can't pull,
Right.
And I will say, we were talking earlier about the match gets stopped 3 times or 4 times and each guy's got 2 fouls and you're like, this is driving me nuts, and nobody likes to foul out. I know it was one of the Oregon tournaments several years ago. I was pulling Mark Owens, and I lost on fouls. And, Mark and I, we've had a rivalry for years, and it was a tough one. That was a tough one for me to take, to foul out like that. But the thing is, did I lift my elbow up? I did.
Right.
I cannot deny it. And I can't, in good conscience, if I would have known that I lift my elbow up, they hadn't called it, and I would have beat Mark. In good conscience, could I have said that was a really good match?
Right. But at the same time, though, if your elbow fouling, that should tell it should tell the puller itself, okay, you're doing something wrong.
Yes.
Okay, and then it helps to have people, shouting your name, hey, Jody, fix this, fix that, watch this, watch that. So I think as far as the super match going, the way I agree, we should go the whole 6 rounds for whoever's up, because now it gives a chance for that puller to go back to their corners. They're getting a pep talk, they're getting their, a rub down with the arm and stuff, and they're doing that kind of thing, and that's going to be awesome. That's, or do you want to do, since we got 4 matches, do you want to go, hey, we'll have 1 match going here, and while they're resting, get the other match going, and then that way those 2 super matches are done, and then we can get ready for the next 2.
And that's not a bad idea. I think it's going to kind of depend on the numbers that we get, the number of competitors. I know the Washington State this year was, man, it was a fantastic tournament, but it was really tough when they're like, hey, we're closing up the bar. Everybody's got to leave. except for the last people that are pulling. That makes it tough, you know?
Yeah.
And so we don't want to have that. But on the other hand, you know, we do want the people who are watching, the people who are interested in seeing this, the, you know, audience, we really want them to have the opportunity to really get into the matches. I will say the Supermatch tournament we had earlier, boy, the people the audience that came and watched it was just really enjoyed it. I mean, it was one of the highlights of the events that club put on.
Mm-hmm.
And really that's, you know, one of the other things that, you know, I think about is when I put a tournament on, either I'm moving arm wrestling closer to becoming a recognized sport, or I'm moving it closer to back alleys and bar rooms, you know? And that is, you know, again, going back to the rules. That's part of the reason I choose the rules I choose. And the setup for the tournament should be one that, one, does justice to the competitors, but also one that really gives the audience every opportunity to appreciate what's going on.
So we had a question, Doug, and it was from Adam, and he says the format where you run 2 super matches is good for the audience, consistent action. It does get a little hard to track though, and the rest isn't balanced. Well, here's my thought, and we can say yes or no to it. So you're going to have an announcer or doing the brackets, whatever. Have that person go, hey, keep track. So it's like David Till and Jody Williams on table 1. They're doing their 6 rounds. When their match is not going, then we'll have Aaron Yersey Brennan, and the announcer can go who's ahead in the match. That way it keeps everybody engaged. You know, it's nonstop action. It keeps everybody engaged. It could be, oh, David Till's up 1-0 on Jody. Here we are, match 2. Or, hey, Aaron Yersey's down 2-1, and here we go with match 3 against Brennan. I think if we got somebody announcing that, that'll keep everybody. Hopefully that makes sense. That will keep everybody know what's going on, you know?
Right. And it would take an MC that is skilled, but it's certainly not impossible.
Right.
And I think that's a good point. I think if the MC knows the competitors, understands what's going on, and, you know, everything is presentation, they move from one table to another, you know, as they're doing the announcing, well, it's going to draw people's attention from one table to the next. And it's obvious when the MC, you know, is up there and when the guys are pulling, who's pulling, you know?
Right.
I mean, if we're switching matches off back and forth and we're having the 30 seconds or 45 seconds in between the matches, well, it's obvious who's pulling, you know, so people, you know, certainly wouldn't get lost. And if the MC is reiterating for people, hey, you know, Jody's up 2-1. You know, we have 3 more matches left. You know, if he's reiterating that, well, people will catch on quick.
Yeah.
You know? And they'll follow along just fine. And again, it will require a skilled MC, but it's not impossible at all.
Right. And a lot of times, a lot depends on how many entries we got, because a lot of times we all know, being in the sport a long time, you don't know what kind of entries you're going to have until the day of. There's so many people that be like, oh yeah, I'm going. And then last minute kicks in and they can't make it for whatever reason. Or you got to, we got about 117 people, roll with that. And next thing you know, the day of, you got 130. So, I mean, it all depends on that. I just know that we kick off at noon. I would imagine that's what the poster says. So there's that.
Yep.
So I'm assuming the super matches are going to go first, get that thing rolling, be done with that. And then we're going to head right into the tournament. I'll be putting on my referee shirt. You just tell me what table to go to, and then we'll go from there.
Sounds good.
So, dude, I'm so excited. I'm glad you guys came up with this idea. I'm glad that it was approached to me. I'm having fun with it. In fact, I got Nick Maurer coming to my house tomorrow morning. He's making the drive over from the Valley, coming to my house. So we're going to go over some last-minute stuff to get each other ready for the big event on the 20th. So we're excited, man. I mean, that's wow. Can you imagine? It's 15 days. Like, wow, 15 days. 15 days. You know?
Yeah, everybody's getting the final touches on. And before we go, just a big shout out to all of the guys from Team Strong Arm, Team Twisted Wrist, for you, all the guys that were willing to come out, you know, take their time, come out and support the event. I just want to say, man, we couldn't be more grateful.
Hey, you know what? From the bottom of my heart, thanks for reaching out. That's what we do. Because like I said, there were some studs from Idaho that came to my tournament back in June. I was like, wow, I got a feeling they're going to be there. I don't know their names, but I got a feeling they're going to be there. But Twisted Wrist will be in the house. Brute Squad will be in the house. Team Strong Arm will be in the house. So we're going to be well represented. Tell everybody about the awards. What you got going on with those?
So we've got awards, and our sponsor has been really supportive. And so what he did was we had planned for full classes, both amateur and open. So the weight classes that we have listed, both amateur and open, both arms. So no classes are getting shorted. And we've got awards for everybody. For the open class, the super matches, we wanted to have something special, and our area was started with logging.
Right.
There was a lot of mining that goes on, but the first thing that our first industry here was actually logging. And so we got some double bit axes that we're polishing up, and we're going to have them engraved with the logo for the tournament. And so they're going to be some, good quality, solid American-made double bit axes, like the old days when the guys were cutting the trees down by hand. I'm going to have some other stuff that we're going to put together. I don't know if you saw on my Facebook, I had actually done a sculpture of a couple of arm wrestling that is designed to be a topper for a trophy. And we're going to have some of those. We're also going to have, I sent you some pictures of some etched acrylic that has the light that shines from underneath it, and it lights up the design.
Yeah.
We'll have some of those with a design on them. So it's going to be, the awards themselves are going to be both varied, and they're going to be pretty cool. One of the things I always shoot for with my awards is something that when somebody gets it, they're like, oh, this is really cool. Not necessarily useful or not necessarily, something that is going to go in an art gallery. But when people get it, they're like, this is cool.
Right.
So I'm hoping that, when the guys come to the tournament, they see the trophies. I think, I'm hoping they look at them and they're like, those are cool. And that will be a win.
Yeah. I mean, so is that for the open and amateur, or is it Supermatch?
Yeah. So we'll have some regular trophies. We'll have medals because we're going to have kids class as well.
Yeah.
We're going to have medals for the kids. We're going to have regular trophies and medals for the amateur and open classes. And then for the super matches, we're going to have the axes. We're also going to have the other trophies with the custom crest of arms. We're going to have those. We're going to have the acrylic ones, and we'll kind of distribute those along the classes so that everybody, hopefully our first place winners should be going home with a trophy that they've never gotten before.
So I got a award I got. This was from the 2015 Epic Arms men's overall right hand. So it's basically a sculpture that a buddy of mine made, and it's like a stick figure, but the head's the ball, whatever. But it's on an arm wrestling table, and it's pretty cool. It's something unique. I don't know if can everybody see this award. So this is an award I got. Right hand overall is pretty unique. It's an actual miniature arm wrestling table, and the guy sat there and made some stick figure guys, but they're actually pulling with the pegs and elbow pad and shoulder pad and everything. So this is kind of unique, and this is pretty cool. I mean, I'm a sucker for awards, so when I see something like that, that's pretty cool. And so I will always, cherish this bad boy. So that's just one of the things that I like. So yeah, and again, something that I've got the.
If the guys have, if they want to see what the crest of arms looks like, if they go to my Facebook page, I have both pictures of the crest of arms because I had already made up awards for another tournament we had with those. And then there's also pictures of the acrylic lights, and they've got the logo from our team on them. And so they can kind of see what that logo looks like. And it would have a logo actually from competition on there with the the name and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a sucker. This other one I got right here is from Hawthorne, Nevada. It's a military town, so they do the Kenny Boston Memorial. I went down. This is from 2019. Supermatch champion. Everybody can see this. It's an actual bullet, like a straight up bullet they would actually use and stuff. So it's unique, 2019 Kenny Boston Memorial Freedom Pole Supermatch champion. So again, I like stuff like that because then for me, I go back and go, oh, okay, that's pretty cool because guess what? I remember that tournament. I worked hard for that tournament. Things like that, I mean, it's just. I even had the Washington State Championships. You were there last year, Doug, you and your team, and they had the plaques, the plaques, So
yep,
that was cool too. And then I went the last couple of years. Check this out. So I go first place, right? And the difference between the tournament and then the super match is like this. So Washington State, right? 2020, I took first place, left hand. So here's the etched out, Washington State at first place, but the super match one is like this big. So I don't know if people can see that, but the difference between 2020 and 21, there you go. So first place is right here in the foreground, the background is a super match champion. So David Till, if you're not paying attention, you saw it says super match champion. Yeah, there you go. So anyway, but no. I like what you're doing. I like those kind of things because my goal is to win one of those bad boys, so I can put that on the mantle that's directly behind me in the background of my studio. But nonetheless, though, again, I can't thank you guys enough. I can't thank everybody that's involved, the whole entire town of Athol. Appreciate that. You guys opening your arms to us. Hey, we're gonna come up there. We're gonna have a good time and stuff. And after that, the after pool it's going to be a teaching moment. We get to sit there and feel free to pick my brain. I mean, I'm an open book when it comes to that kind of stuff. So I'm not one of these guys that'll sit there and just I'll only tell you bits and pieces. What you want to know, what you want to work at, I'm open book. If I see something that you might can get better at, cool. Maybe I can show you some things that you might say, hey, I might try, or vice versa. I've been in the sport 12 years. I'm not going to sit there and say that I know everything. So I'm just kind of like that. We kind of take care of each other. So that's pretty cool. So.
Yeah, no. And again, the brothers in arms, that's a good phrase because I really like that.
Right.
That idea of the camaraderie with the armists.
Cool. Well, Doug, my friend, I'm going to go ahead and put a bow tie on this bad boy, but I want to thank you so much for being a part of this episode of ArmTalk. We got the rule set going on. I think we got some unanswered questions. I know for a fact, me and Mr. David Till are going 6 rounds. 6 rounds, baby. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 rounds. Conditioning is going to be a factor. So I'm excited. My man, it's a pleasure to have you on my show and stuff. I'm going to go ahead and let you get out of here because it's Friday. And so it's time to hang out with the family and stuff and begin your weekend. But my friend, thank you very much. And I will see you on August 20th.
Thank you, Jody. I'll see you there.
Yes, sir. Take care, man.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
So Doug Goodman, good friend of mine. I've known him for years. He's come to my house and pool before, some years back, But again, this is going to be awesome. I'm glad I get the opportunity to go down there, up there anyway. Not too far from Canadian borders, so that's pretty cool too. But again, so excited. I'm glad everybody over there is going to open their arms to us. It's going to be an awesome event. And I assure you, when that event's all said and done, the people around town are going to be saying, hey, when's the next event? That is the goal, right? To sit there and say, when's the next event? So with that being said, it's 6:56. I got to get a bite to eat. I got to go say hi to my wife, see how her day at work was. And hey, until then, 2 weeks. Yes, Tiffany, 2 weeks. 2 weeks. We're going to get it done. So until then, everybody, thanks for joining me on the show. Enjoy your weekend. And don't forget to chime in East, First, West tomorrow. As always, guys, see ya when I see ya. Y'all be good to one another.